It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not even about us. It's about legacy. It's about what we choose to leave behind for future generations. And that's why, for the next year, and for the first time since 1974, the best and brightest men and women of nations and corporations the world over will pool their resources, share their collective vision to leave behind a brighter future. It's not about us. Therefore, what I'm saying, if I'm saying anything, is welcome back.
The work of a single organization, the Syndicate. A rogue nation, trained to do what we do, imbued with a new sense of purpose.
The Syndicate, you say? Yes, sir. That's what he calls it.
When I got this role in The Unseen, I knew nothing about Down syndrome and how they acted or anything. So about 50 miles outside of Los Angeles, there was a mental hospital, a mentally disabled hospital called Camarillo State Hospital. And I spent 3 days there. They did let me go home at night, but just observing people, and I was amazed. And I saw, the most unusual case I saw was, now it's more popular. You've seen him on television, and then of course there was Rain Man. There was a guy who, couldn't talk or anything, and had to be helped going to the bathroom and everything, but he could play the piano perfectly, and you could ask him a date in the future, and you could say like August 19th, 2025, and he could tell you what day of the week it fell on. He could say Thursday, and you could look it up, and it was Thursday. The director, Danny Steinman, was a very interesting guy. I didn't have a lot of contact with him. The only thing I remember, of course, about Danny was the time, of course, which you'll see in the film, or you probably already have seen it, where I hit this electrical box and it kind of explodes and everything, and I was afraid to hit it because I didn't want to hit it right. They told me, they said, whatever you do, when you hit it, make sure there's no sparks coming out of it at the time you hit it. And I was very hesitant. And Danny says, you're hesitant, Stephen. You got to just hit the box. And I said, but I'm afraid that I'm going to get shocked. He goes, do you trust me? That's a loaded question. So I said, yeah, I guess so. I don't even know you, but all right. He says, I'll have the button that makes all the sparks and the electricity stuff. So sure enough, I hit the box and he presses the button and blew me actually off my feet. I was in electrical shock. And at that point, I said, I want to change my mind about trusting you now. So that's the last Danny and I ever spoke, actually. I remember when I got the part, I had to go to a guy named Craig Reardon, who was supposedly a special effects makeup guy. I had never done special effects makeup. And the first thing, I go over his house and I go into his garage, which was a converted studio, and I see all these monster heads and blood and guts all over the place. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? And I was pretty frightened. And then proceeds to put white plaster all over my face and stick 2 straws up my nose. So it was not off to a good start. And but Craig and I became best buddies because we had to, actually, because we spent so much time together. You know, we'd get up at 4:30 in the morning. We stayed at this Playback Hotel way out in North Los Angeles County, and I just, you know, I'd like fall asleep in the chair because I was so tired. But Craig worked on me, and he was great, and I think he's gone on to do wonderful, wonderful stuff. The nail effect that they used was this thing. It was a piece of wood, and of course it was like the old Halloween tricks where the nail looks like it's going in your head, but it retracts and everything. And I was just so scared that it wasn't going to retract when he bashes me over the head, so I kept making it spring load and everything. And I was just, after I got electrocuted earlier on the set, I wanted to make sure that that nail was going to really retract, you know. The other problem was, the hardest thing about the makeup to me was the removal of the makeup, because I said to Craig, I said, you know, I really don't want to be in the middle of a scene and have this stuff start to fall off my face. So he says, no, not with the glue I have. I said, what is this, some kind of special glue? He goes, yeah, it's called Iron Claw. And I knew right then and there that I was in trouble, because when the claw let go, it took half my skin with me, and I looked like I had leprosy at the end. And I was so glad. For me, it was only like a 12-day shoot.
2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. Company, halt!
Move. Stretch that line. Stretch that line, mister. Stretch that line, soldier. Mister, hold my mount. Fat, disgusting slob. You're a goddamn disgrace!
A vicious mother, isn't he?
Yeah.
He can't do that to our pledges. Only we can do that to our pledges.
Redo those buttons. Dress that belt buckle. Straighten that cap. And goddamn it, tuck up those pajamas. Attention! Out front! What's that on your chest, mister?
It's a pledge pin, sir.
A pledge pin on your uniform!
Puck did. Shit.
Just tell me, mister, what fraternity would pledge a man like you?
It's a Delta pin, sir.
Slice.
You'll report to the stable tonight and every night at 1900 hours. And without that pledge pin! Do you understand?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Close, Senior Editor at RT Book Reviews Magazine, and I am delighted to be here with Sue Grafton. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
So Sue is here to accept RT Reviewer's Choice Award for the Best Contemporary Mystery this year for V is for Vengeance, which is a book that I loved myself. Sue, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on in Kinsey's life, what kind of case she's dealing with in this book?
She is on the verge of turning 38. People are very excited about that. When I started this series in 1982, she was 32. So now that it's 2012, she has aged 6 years. She starts her account of the case by talking about the fact that somebody's punched her in the face and she's gotten her nose broken.
That seems to happen to her a lot.
Not lately. My readers so worry about her health and safety that I've tried to be a little more gentle with her physical altercations. But I got interested in the issue of shoplifting, which I confess I did when I was quite young. I used to steal doll clothes, and why I am not still in juvenile hall, I do not know. But I started doing some reading, and I realized that it was huge business, unbelievable amount of business. And so I started doing some research locally and went to a dress shop in Montecito, which is where I live. They let me sit behind the scenes and watch the monitors.
Oh, fun.
And told me incredible tales of shoplifters in their stores. So it was fun to sort of see that firsthand. I also got interested in the back end of that, the big business that is shoplifting. So I always start in a slightly different place, you know.
Well, that's one thing I really like about your series, is that you address so many different kinds of crime, but you don't do what a lot of long-running series do and get grislier and grislier with each book.
No.
You know, there's, you know, for mystery series, there's very little, you know, grisly
I know.
stuff.
And if I even use bad words, I get all these letters from people, I wish you would not use that language, you know. So I generally write back and say, I promise if I meet you, I will try not to say anything too naughty. But I am interested in the psychology of crime. And so the notion of serial killers just bores me senseless. I am interested in why people kill each other. And my only message is I think we should stop. You know, I think people should get on good drugs and have a little electroshock therapy and quit killing each other.
Something else I really like about your series is that you've been doing very interesting structural things as you've gone on. You know, you've introduced multiple viewpoints and you've done some you know, past and present narratives that weave together. Was that something you had planned to do all along?
No, and what I'm committed to now, and what I've done all along, I believe the story dictates the form. So when I got to S's for Silence, that was the first time I did it, because I kept thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful to do time travel? But I thought, I don't write science fiction, therefore I can't do it. One day, I'm telling you, it took me 9 months to come to this insight. I thought, I can't do time travel. I sit at my machine, I type July 5th, 1955, and bam, I'm back there. And that opened up a lot of territory for me. So I use multiple point of view for S, T, U, and V. I think W, I'm going to come back around. The nature of the story, I think, will be best told through Kinsey's sensibility. So if X comes out another way, I'll do that too.
Do you have a title for W yet?
I do not. I'm hoping that somebody will give me one. Well,
the only W words coming to mind is walrus, so I don't think that's much help for you.
Thank you.
So Kinsey has really evolved a lot with her relationships with her family.
Yes.
So do you see them down the line? Do you think she'll ever be part of a big, happy family?
I don't think so, and to tell you the truth, I don't see very far down the line. My job is to capture her in the moment and to be as truthful as I can about where she is. My big goal that I've repeated myself often and often is I don't want to write the same book twice. So I have to be very careful when I structure a story, because unconsciously we repeat ourselves.
Of course.
It's just, it feels comfortable, you feel like you're in control, but I keep elaborate charts so I know what I've done and where I've been, and I try to make sure I don't go there again.
Well, I know RT interviewed you several years ago, and you said that you would not let Henry die while the series was going on, which was a tremendous relief to a lot of people. But do you see the other secondary characters? Does everybody continue along?
Yes, for one thing, I keep saying all the Sibs will survive. His sister, Henry's sister, Nell, is only 99. She's not even sick. Why would she die? You know, I believe in older people. I don't say elderly. I'm suddenly in that category myself. But the ones I know are just full of piss and vinegar, and it is fun to be with them. So I do know some people age in a hobbling fashion, but not the people I care about.
Good, good. So I was going to ask if you thought Kinsey would ever find love. But Kinsey finds love all the time.
Exactly.
You know.
And I don't know where she will go after Z is for Zero. And she assures me it's none of my damn business. When we get to that book, she will let me know. I, as I said, don't make these moves in advance because I'm never quite sure what's going to happen to her. And I like to give her as much freedom as possible.
Have you thought about writing things that don't star Kinsey Millhone?
I might, and I will see what kind of energy I have when I get to Z is for Zero. I will be close to 80, and I'm so convinced I deserve a little vacation. You know, I want to kick up my heels and misbehave while I still can. But the truth is, my life is about writing, and the notion of not writing creates this inky void into which I will probably tumble. So I suspect I will write on. I just don't want to do it when the juice is gone.
Sure. What is your writing schedule? Do you write every day?
Yes, I do, and I usually write, it depends. Sometimes I exercise in the morning, get to my desk 9:30 or 10. Sometimes I get to my desk early and break at 3 in the afternoon and walk then. I try to walk 3 to 5 miles 5 days a week just to blow off some steam. But I generally work maybe 5 hours max, and some of that is reading, research, some of it's making phone calls, some of it's revising, some of it is just tearing my hair out because I can't figure out what I'm doing. But I find it best to stay connected to the writing. I don't worry about inspiration. I just worry about being there for the work.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite quotations, I think it was Goethe, but I'm probably wrong about this, is that inspiration exists, but it has to find you working.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
I like that. I think I like what I said that.
So I know a lot of people at this convention are going to be really excited to meet you.
Good.
Is there anybody that you've met that you had a real fan moment with?
Well, I happened to do some walking I did in the past with J.R. Ward, who lives in Louisville, and I haven't seen her yet, but I'm excited about that because I can tell you we put in many a mile talking about writing and about where her series was going, and it's been fun to watch her operate.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming. We are delighted to have you here, and I'm so excited to have a few minutes to talk with you.
It's been good.
Pender, the taller of the two, is a good boxer, preferring to jab away and pile up points. But against Downs, a rugged opponent, he must do more. Pender had defended his title against Downs in Boston, Massachusetts 6 months prior to this fight, and had stopped Downs in 7 rounds. But tonight, Downs stays after Pender, banging home hard combinations of the body and head. Downs now working on Pender's cut eye. Pender won the middleweight crown by defeating Ray Robinson, and then in a return match he repeated that feat. Now Pender and Downs both have cut eyes, and the crowd speculates as to who can last in this bruising battle. But in this fight with Terry Downs, Paul Pender was too little and too late, and has to bow out because of that cut eye. And the wily Englishman, Terry Downs, wins a big one to take the middleweight championship. But in a return match 6 months later, Pender will regain the middleweight championship, winning a 15-round decision over Downs.
I needed room for thought to breathe. My life has been a lingering for the throne. Sometimes, I must confess, I imagined if my mother had to die before her time, a helicopter crash, a rare disease. So at an early age, I'd be in charge. Before me, years of constant, stable rule. But I am better thoughtful prince than king. Potential holds appeal, since in its castle walls, one is protected from the awful shame of failure.
At last, we finally meet. I have something for you, Chancellor. A farewell gift. For all the things you've done, for the things you might have done, and for the only thing you have left. Goodbye, Chancellor. Mr. Creedy?
Disgusting. Now that's done with, it's time to have a look at your face. Take off your mask.
No.
Defiant to the end, You won't cry like him, will you? You're not afraid of death. You're like me.
The only thing that you and I have in common, Mr. Creedy, is we're both about to die.
How do you imagine that's going to happen?
With my hands around your neck.
Bollocks. What you gonna do, huh? We've swept this place. You've got nothing. Nothing but your bloody knives and your fancy karate gimmicks. We have guns.
No, what you have are bullets, and the hope that when your guns are empty, I'm no longer standing, because if I am, you'll all be dead before you've reloaded.
That's impossible! Kill him.
My turn.
Die! Die! Why won't you die?
Why won't you die?
Beneath this mask, there is more than flesh. Beneath this mask, there is an idea, Mr. Creedy. And ideas are bulletproof.
you.